keep myself awake at night, wondering why Dead Rails is so addictive. Other Roblox games are so forgettable. Maybe it's the restrained monetization the game deploys compared to other games. Or maybe it's the ability to beat the game in a variety of different ways. Challenges. Maybe it's the class system where the starting geared abilities actually matter how well a run will go. Maybe it's all those fancy events and Easter eggs the developers keeps adding in for us to find. No, it's not that. Well, actually, it is part of the reason, but not the full picture. You see, despite having the answer right in front of me this entire time, I can never see the full picture. That is until I found an old game I used to play. A little indie game called The Oregon Trail. These games on the surface have many differences and are completely different in terms of what's going on, but what Dead Rails has in common with Oregon Trails is quite a lot actually. I want you to come with me on this journey while I explain why Dead Rails is a spiritual successor to Oregon Trail. In Oregon Trail, you start with choosing your character. While Oregon Trail doesn't have stats changes, choose different characters, it does have different cars you can choose from for beginning your adventure. The next thing you notice when you're playing Oregon Trail is that you're always just moving forward, just like in Dead Rails with the train. Your vehicle of choice is just moving forward without the ability to move backwards. You need fuel or make it to your next destination. In both games, you can run over zombies and bandits / outlaws to get easy rewards, skipping what would otherwise be tough encounters. In Oregon Trail, you can get certain events where you forget about a survivor, leaving them behind. While in Dead Rails, it honestly just happens all the time, leaving people behind. I guess, no matter what game you're playing, if your ability to jump off a train, or a car, or whatever, someone's just getting left behind no matter what. The ability to upgrade your vehicles in Oregon Trail has similar vibes to Dead Rails welding systems. To people being able to create crazy looking Mad Max trains that sadly gets erased at the end of every match. While the car in Oregon Trail has limited upgrades you can perform on it, it does help in making the gameplay easier and less random. The ability for the feudal realm both games helps make the journey far more brutal than it normally would be without this fuel system. In Oregon Trail, when you get stuck, all you can do is hope for random trays in the menus to buy some fuel so you can make it to the next safe town. Dead Rail is better because you can still get off the train and walk around for loot and for fuel. Or you can wait for night for monster spawns to use them as fuel to power your train back up. Before we continue, if you could please leave a like below and subscribe to the channel. Click that notification bell to get more future videos in your feeds. And with that out of the way, we can return to the topic at hand. On the way, you are getting attacked by bandits or outlaws, and you make stops along the way to gather loot and supplies for the trip ahead. When you are looting Oregon Trails, go for a more limited version of combat. You get 3 options: the pistol, the shotgun, and the rifle. Due to Oregon Trail being more archaic, it doesn't really have any other options for combat. While in Dead Rails, you have melee weapons, a pistol, a shotgun, and a rifle, and a zap gun if you find and start the Tesla quest line. Looting in Oregon Trail is quite simple and can be done anywhere, but you have limited ammo and must be managed in order to survive and make it back to your vehicle. While in Dead Rails, you can stop by tiny houses or stop in towns to loot buildings. While looting, the time of day is a big factor on how well you're going to be able to loot effectively. In Oregon Trail, it goes by an hour system allows you to gather supplies once per hour in this minigame type of format. Depending on if it's closer to night or if the location is more populated will determine how many zombies or bandits you encounter. In Dead Rails, the time is displayed on the train, and if you go looting at the wrong time of day, you can end up getting backshots from spawning Giga Wolves. The fact that both games have a variety of different zombies you can face goes to show how much effort it goes into creating a more immersive experience for the player. Oregon Trail is a mix of text-based adventure, a mix of real-time minigames in order to get to the end, where you hold off a bunch of zombies collecting fuel to get inside the shelter, or fight a mini-boss. In Dead Rail, you move the train towards the 80k mark to lower the bridge, where you hold off a huge number of outlaws and zombies, unless you are fighting the final boss you awakened earlier. I would say that Dead Rails is like a first-person version of Oregon Trails. The safe town cities in both games have a limited amount of time you can safely spend there. While in both games you have different ways to tell you to move on and leave the safe town. Both do their best to keep you moving forward. In Oregon Trail, you have a limited time before the city gets swarmed, and it almost becomes impossible to get out without being swarmed by a huge horde of zombies, needing to gun them down before you can get out of town. In Dead Rails, the turrets have a limited amount of ammo for nighttime, not allowing you to rest for too long, but still letting you relax for a few minutes before continuing your run. The safe town in both games have random shops. The general shop in Dead Rails is always random and can hold almost anything you need for survival. Oregon Trail has a more limited shop where you must get lucky with what shops are open for you to buy from. Both games have a nightmare mode that makes the game far tougher. While Dead Rails has a better take on nightmare mode, I'd say it makes the game far more enjoyable in both. Limited supplies you can buy from the shops in both nightmare modes gets you worried about whether you make it to the end or not. Both games can take hours to complete, if not days, for Oregon Trail. Oregon Trail, depending on how cautious you are, could take days to finish unless you're ready to rush the entire way. General runs usually take 1 to 4 hours depending on how many places you're willing to stop at and explore. In Oregon Trail, there are missions you can complete for money from safe towns, or if you're in endless mode, you can complete limited skull missions to get bonuses and maybe new vehicles and supplies. And in Dead Rails, there's the quest board in the main lobby where you can complete challenges to unlock bonds and get more classes for you to play with. Oregon Trail has a one-hit system in its battle encounters. Due to the slower survival horror gameplay, you are given one hit in combat before you go down and need to retreat. While in Dead Rails, if you get hit, there's a chance to recover. However, I don't think you can save yourself from every encounter. The special encounters from both games can mostly be avoided as long as you just rush the game and beat as fast as possible. Oregon Trails has dozens of special encounters. It's also a bigger game meant to last longer, so it makes sense you run into more stuff along the way. Dead Rails, on the other hand, only has 4 major places you can visit. First, it has the labs, where you can get the zap gun. Second is the mining town, where you gotta use your brain to get into the mines. Boom boom stick with a torch. Next is the fort, where you can get those 360 no scope headshots. And finally there's castle, where you can run in there and die because 30 monsters are ready to give you back shots, ending your entire run. The things I'd add to Dead Rails is an endless mode with a money printer added to the train. How this will work is that every 10k miles you traveled, you get 1 bond that would print out, and that's how you get paid instead of just winning. You'd just get one from very small payouts along the way. And the thing I add to Dead Rails are random NPCs you can chat with in safe towns. For example, in Oregon Trail, you can talk to NPCs whenever you want, but this is unrealistic when it comes to Dead Rails. What I'm looking towards is like more of a bubble chat system. So these NPCs can like give you advice or just scream at you because they can. And the next thing I would take out of the Oregon Trail is the gravestone system. So like there will be random gravestones along the road, so you can use your starting shovel to actually dig up the graves, making the shovel actually useful. Now there's a couple things that could come out of these graves. The first one could be a zombie, of course, because why would there be a grave there if there's nothing that comes out of it? But then there can also be loot and just random garbage in there. And for endless mode, I would have to make sure, or as a dev, I would make sure that you have to beat normal mode and nightmare mode, meaning that in total you need at least 2 wins in order to unlock this mode. Once you unlock it, would basically act as like a harder nightmare mode. You see, endless mode would be too easy if it was just the normal difficulty with endless. So, with nightmare, with the loot rarity of nightmare, but we make it up for that, the fact that you can keep going forever. And plus, if you already have so many bonds, you're probably gonna be able to get really far anyways. And for endless mode, I would add in some more variety of places. For instance, we don't even have to create new places, we just have to modify the existing ones. For the towns, I would have a town on each side so that you can visit both sides of the town, or I would have the towns closer to each other, or have maybe 2 towns per location depending on how far you get in endless mode. Just adding in that would have so much more gameplay and add so many different opportunities to the game. However, if we had to play endless mode, I would also nerf the banks slightly, because otherwise players would just go to the banks and that's it. And some locations I would add is a graveyard, obviously, because if you're going to have a shovel that digs up graves, it's only obvious that you add a graveyard. And also I would add like a prison type of place where you use the same thing as you do at the fortress. Use the key to unlock cells, which pretty cool concept. I wish they expanded on that, which is why I'm suggesting the prison. Next I would add is the bunker. So this bunker can either be a long staircase that leads down, or just a ladder that goes down to a bunker. So this bunker would just have loot. However, this bunker, unlike the bank vaults, you would actually need dynamite to get opened. So you would have to spend resources in order to get into this vault. Or bunker, I guess. Inside these bunkers, there would be angry NPCs ready to kill you because you just broke into their zombie bunker that was supposed to prevent zombies. And a couple more things I would steal from Oregon Trail is just the zombie classes. Like, there's this one zombie class that looks at you, but it cannot move when you're looking at it, but as soon as you, like, start walking away, it starts sprinting at you. It's kind of like the Weeping Angel situation. But unlike the Weeping Angels, you can just shoot them. And because it's first person, if they spot you, it's going to be horrifying, because you don't even know you've been spotted, and this thing just runs like Usain Bolt across the map for you. So the next one would be like a sludge zombie. So the one that just spreads radioactive waste everywhere. And it's basically the main infector of all the zombies. So like this thing just, if you go near it, you just take damage because of the sludge. It drops on the ground wherever it walks. And basically just goes like, oh, you can't walk here now unless you want to take damage from the sludge on the ground. And the last one is the American is the American reputation, of course. Gotta have those zombies that just pounded back 20 Big Macs before they turned. Being slowed by 3 times while having 3 times the HP and 3 times the damage. These are some chunky boys. These little tanks would be dangerous because if they hit you, your character model would start ragdolling out and you just fall to the ground, because these things, they might have been obese in their lifetime, but they're hit like tanks in this time. And the couple last things I would add is an upgrade for the train. So in these new structures, the prison or the bunker or the graveyard, I would add in the ability to find like a train boost thing. I don't know what things would boost trains, but something would boost the train by like 30%. You weld it to your train, but then it would take up like 60% more fuel until you unweld it, and then you go back to normal speed. So this would be like found like the couple new locations they potentially would add in this scenario. This is like not actually happening. This is just like a what if. what if scenario added on. But yeah. But like the other thing I would add is like these like I know this doesn't sound very realistic, but these like futuristic force shields. So your train at nighttime can be defended by certain groups of enemies. So one would be like for zombies, one would be like werewolves, and one would be vampires, and like one for bandits, so they can't get in fire at you. Although that one is probably too sci-fi, probably too futuristic for this game. And you could find the money printer in the game to add it as well to your train, and you basically can use the train fuel. You can basically fuel up the machine, the money printer, and it's hypothetic with lots of like useless fuel to get bonds from it. But it's gonna take a lot. I'm not saying it's realistic, but it's something. Oh yeah, and the final thing I would add to the game is a mute music option. I literally cannot record one video on this game without getting copyrighted from the music in the game, and it would be nice if they could change that. Alright, if you enjoyed the video, please leave a like and comment below your suggestions to what the devs should add. Focus on adding to the game, hit that notification bell, and subscribe to the channel for more interesting content like this.